Are we live? We're live on the air, huh, Jen? Go for it.
Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome. It's a beautiful Wednesday. It's the second Wednesday of the month, and I will tell you why that's important to me in a second. But in the meantime, welcome to the Mastermind group. As I always say, this is better than therapy, and you'll save money too, because it's free to get in. What I recommend is everybody, who is in the room, be prepared to share your life story with everybody else. And just remember, to those people that are listening in, the stories they tell may be true or false. You don't know. It's up to you. You make your own decision because it's an opinion. And you're the one who has to decide whether what we say is true or false. It's almost like to tell the truth. You have to guess who's telling the truth and who's not. But hopefully it'll be a truthful show and it'll all come from the heart. So if you like it, click the like button. If you don't like it, click the like button. And also you can follow us on Facebook and YouTube. And what else am I missing? And of course you could join us here in the Zoom room. So I'd like to welcome everybody and thanks for coming. So I hope everybody is doing well and everybody is having a really good time, because I see that there is a light at the end of the tunnel right now, and it's not the train. So we are on path to starting. So first, before we go into anything that I have planned, I just want to welcome everybody. And is there anybody here that wants to say anything on how their week is going? Just chime right in. Eric, you're always talkative. Come on, how's it going?
Well, I was looking for Jack Kevorkian's phone number earlier today, but I didn't find it. So I guess my week is going to continue. There's definitely some activity. AEG New York has basically said nothing until September. Live Nation, at least as far as Jones Beach, has said maybe August. So there are things happening. And, the question is, when are they going to actually, put the shovel in the ground and say, yes, this is the date and we're going to do it? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that we're not hearing, because I'm sure there's a lot of behind the scenes wrangling, but, there are definitely signs of life in some of these venues that are gearing up. Some of my union buddies have said there's a lot of Broadway work going on, just in terms of cleaning, painting, et cetera, et cetera. Sets sit there for over a year collecting dust. They need to be cleaned up and painted, checking out all the mechanicals and rigging, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot is happening, but nothing that really means anything to anybody who's in the production services business.
Yeah. Well, I'm seeing, I'm reading stories, and again, we'll go into it, but right now I'm hearing more and more people working. Like, for example, I heard that Ken Newman was offered 3 jobs this week, and he's so busy, he turned them all down. Is that true, Kenny?
Yeah.
Well, he passed on taking out the garbage and walking the dog, so that leaves 1.
And he's in an undisclosed location.
So Fred, what's going on with you? Tell me how business is with you. Are you staying busy, or are you just sitting around doing nothing? What's going on?
No, I've been doing a medical show all this week. That's why I'm in my scrubs. We did a live surgery on the air, the 10th yesterday, broadcast over the air here in Phoenix. And then today we started Scottsdale Informational Forum. You can look it up online. They have a bunch of doctors that come into one of the big resorts over in Scottsdale, Gainey Ranch. They've got it all social distanced. Normally they put like 1,000 people in the ballroom, but I think they've got 400 or 500 in there. It's a huge building, and they've got 2 tents set up outside with PA systems outside, and they were all full today. So I've got 3 more days of that.
And all of these people are healthy?
They're all doctors coming to watch the surgeries. We're doing live surgeries in the cath lab today we did a Watchman, fixing the guy's heart. Probably do a TAVR or something tomorrow. It's all endovascular. It's all stuff where 5 years ago, you used to have to split people's chest open to work on your heart. Now we go through the legs or go through the wrist or go through whatever. And we broadcast these things to all these doctors. It's a teaching tool. It's pretty cool.
Now, the people that are being operated on, do they need the surgery, or are they volunteers?
Oh, no. They need the surgery.
Oh, all right, good. That's
if you go on my Facebook page, you can pull it up at AZTV in Phoenix. It was called The Procedure. You can just watch it online.
That's cool. Ken Porter, how you doing?
I just had that done last week.
There we go.
Somebody's
which one did you have done?
There we go. You hear me, Dave?
I just had the going up through the wrist and They
I
did
was just
the
seeing how
dye
you were
test in
doing,
my
man. I haven't
heart.
talked to you in months and months.
Rod, are you okay? So are you okay now?
Well, no, they still don't know what's wrong. I've been having this irregular
I
heartbeat.
see some light
like
at the end of the tunnel.
It's
I
rhythm.
hope you do too.
And sorry, whose turn? I don't want to talk over.
No, go ahead,
somebody.
go ahead. He didn't realize his mic was on.
I'm just having a irregular heart rhythm, and like it just like misbeats, and then it hits a couple heartbeats, and they did all these tests. I wore a monitor for a couple of days, and I did a stress test, which I failed royally. When I got up to the 4th level, my heart just scattered and went way out of whack. So they said, "Oh, you got a block, you got a block." And I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm vegan and I'm in shape and I eat really well, and my cholesterol is like 190, and it was like so everything. So they insisted they had to do this. So they went up in, and there's nothing. I was completely clear everywhere. So it's just a big check mark that it's not that, but they still don't know what's going on. But I know exactly what he was talking about. It was
Cardiac
kind of
arrhythmia,
right
right?
up through the wrist.
That's
Yeah, so
something like
so you're probably a candidate for what we did today. It was called a Watchman, or actually we did a what did we do? We did a mitral clip today. Basically, when the blood comes out of your lungs and goes into your heart, there's a valve there, and as you age and the heart gets bigger, that valve spreads apart, so it doesn't close all the way. So the heart pumps, and when it releases, it lets blood go back the other way. So now you got blood coming in the lungs from one side and blood coming in the lungs from the other side, and then your lungs fill up with fluid, and that's not good. So
Well,
they go and they put a clip in there they put a clip in there to pull those walls together to keep that blood from reversing, and then the heart pumps the right way. It's very interesting.
Well,
Yeah, well,
I
we're
have mitral valve prolapse. I've gone into AFib about 6 times over the last 25 years. Once at a gig, which was really weird. But that's usually the top part of the heart gets out of rhythm and it beats really fast. And like that, I can feel that. This beat, the top is working fine. Now the bottom is missing beats. And that's what's confusing them, because I don't know if it's valve related or not. That's they think it's an electrical issue. Then I have to go see an electrical physician.
Yeah, that's why they do the dye study first. They probably went in through your wrist and shot some dye in there so they could see what was going on.
Yeah. It's interesting, but I don't know. I got 2 months to figure it out, because I definitely got 2 gigs in May and more coming in June. So it's all coming now.
Well, there you go. So that's the good part of it. You have to see an electrician, and is it an electrician or a doctor that's an electrician?
It's an electrical physician is what they call it, an EP. But I do
good
electrical
thing
work. It's kind of a joke.
The good thing is once they do the surgery, you can go home tomorrow. I mean, the lady we had a 90-year-old lady on the table this morning. She goes home tomorrow. Instead of, when they used to crack the chest, you have to stay in the hospital for a week, and then you have all the recovery time from all of that stuff. I mean, it's fascinating where we've come in 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, you think you have
so
it
we're going
bad.
to call you Dr. D now, huh? So you're a doctor yourself, huh?
Well, you think you have it bad. I have a friend, he'd been in medical school for 7 years, 4 years of internship, and he just lost his credentials because he got caught sleeping with one of his patients. And, it was what a waste of time and money of his life. And it's truly a shame. He would have been a great veterinarian, I'm telling you. But anyway, onward and upward. That was the joke of the week. He would have been a great veterinarian, I tell you. Anyway, so Sean Telicek, you're in the room right now. Talk to us. What's going on?
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Hey, we can't see you. Are you there?
You can't see me?
Oh, there you are.
I
Hey,
can see me.
welcome, Sean. So tell me, what have you been up to?
Well, we're about a year into this pandemic. We received a contract to help LA County support their COVID testing facilities, because the medical professionals have all been moved to vaccination. I think I may have touched on this a couple months ago. It's been a very, very long process to put this in place. We're pretty excited about that. So we'll be onboarding about 75 crew guys and lighting guys and sound guys, and putting them in PPE and issuing them first ID cards that they're frontline workers. Everyone will get a vaccination shot, and we're going to go out and run the sites for the next 6 to 9 months, which is pretty exciting. Also,
that is awesome! Congratulations, Sean. That's amazing.
Thank you, Ken. And then I called Ken a couple weeks ago and asked him to A1 my job yesterday for Governor Gavin Newsom's State of the State to talk about opening up live events and lifting the assembly orders and things like that. And Ken had problems with his house or something like that, and he couldn't make it.
So are you going to have some job openings for people as well?
Well, we're trying. We've been hiring. I had 45 people out at Dodger Stadium yesterday. A lot of the guys were Vox employees, but a lot of them are freelancers that worked. We're not slammed. I mean, we're getting these occasional, how do we turn this Zoom into a really cool production? But it's like once every, month or two. I had another phone call about the Emmys, and they want to do virtual drive-ins for the show in the fall. But realistically, I don't think that's going to be necessary in the fall. I think people will be able to be in person. So, but it was pretty exciting. The governor's office had a problem, and that was you can't assemble in the state state capitol. There's a stay-home work. Basically you can't be there. The State of the State is a mandatory annual responsibility of the governor to report back to not congressmen, but state legislators and state assembly people. So we looked at possibly doing the broadcast from the Capitol, but Gavin Newsom's team wanted to come to Los Angeles. I think they're trying to enhance their relationship with Southern California voters. We also do the largest vaccination site in the world at Dodger Stadium with 10,000 vaccine shots a day. So Gavin Newsom wanted to highlight that by being at Dodger Stadium. So it's kind of a fun problem. There's 150 electeds, judges, and key city mayors that had to come into a Zoom call. And the state Zoom team and us worked to build that event in Zoom. But we weren't going to allow anyone in person to be on this, what I call live soundstage, except the governor. He was the only person permitted. So the Speaker of the House, the Lieutenant Governor, the Pro Tem, the President, who else is there actually? Anyways, there's about 5 of them. We used a product called Zoom Room. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that, but it's an enhanced Zoom product. We were able to bring special people into the Zoom room, which I believe gives us HD quality feeds. So we could take their feed to our switcher at the stadium and then feed them through down to the stage, so we could pick up shots of Gavin Newsom sort of speaking and interacting with constituents. And then we did a live broadcast. We broadcast it back into the Zoom for the 150 government officials. We broadcast it into the Zoom room, so all the people who are what I call talent on the show could get the show. They wanted it available for the TV network, so we logged on to the fiber network that all the networks subscribe to, and they all share content back and forth via dedicated fiber. So we were able to put the show live to all the networks who were on fiber, and then we were able to beam it down to El Segundo and then hit a satellite and basically put the feed through coordinates globally, so any network in the world could pick up the feed. They also wanted social media channels, and then we learned that closed captioning and ASL interpreting, sign language interpreters, had to be on the social media. So we had to actually create a third show. Well, let's see, how many shows do we have? We have the show for the Congress, or the Assembly. We had a show for talent. We did the broadcast for network TV. We did the broadcast for the internet through our Vimeo Pro account, which then sent it to all the different social media sites. And then we did like a local show, closed closed circuit show for people that were at Dodger Stadium. And to be honest, a lot of this was kind of new for me. I hadn't done all that before. And they called on Friday, and we built them. I think Jan put it up, but we built them a custom podium to give a Dodger flair to it. And we built that in about 36 hours. We were also looking at 40% chances of rain yesterday. So we built an Art Deco aluminum awning system for the whole stage, which we luckily did not have to build. And the show went great. So that podium there was custom built over the weekend in our shop. So it was kind of a fun gig. It was good to be out there. I got someone at my door here. Hold on a second here.
Well, there you go. That's pretty good. That's very, very impressive, to say the least. Super impressive. I'm glad you found some work, and everybody else is. Everybody else is. Does anybody have any questions? I think Lewis had some questions for you regarding what you're doing as far as with the vaccine, but I don't think Sean's listening to me. So we'll just talk about. Let's just talk about him while he's not.
I can hear you. Do you not hear me?
Hey there, Sean.
How you doing?
Jan mentioned you were involved with the vaccination stuff going on at Dodger Stadium. And I got talked into yesterday becoming the regional director for COVID in the Bay Area because no one else had stepped up.
Congratulations.
I'm not sure what I'm doing yet, but as soon as Jan mentioned that to me, my ears perked up. Are you involved with it through COVID or in some other path? Or
also, Jan's close, but not exactly correct. Vox Productions is the preferred vendor for the Los Angeles Dodgers. And so yesterday's governor's event is a relationship we have to being because the event happened inside the stadium. Now the Dodgers also own the real estate and rent out the parking lot. So various entities use their parking lots for live concerts. In fact, there was a concert in the vaccination site, I believe on Monday, and we were not involved with that. That was an independent production that came in as a benefit event. It was a benefit concert. But we don't work on the vaccination sites. There just happens to be a vaccination site where the confusion there is because the medical workers are all being pulled away from COVID testing to do vaccination. Because when you stick a needle in someone's arm, you got to have some kind of licensing.
right.
Because of the self-administered COVID tests that are now approved by the FDA, guys like you and me can observe, put out cones, do traffic control, barcode, scan, say thanks, wear a mask, give you a swab, you swab your nose, you give us the swab back and stick it in a jar and transport it down to the lab. None of us have to be, medical workers. So
Right.
independent of the Dodgers, we are doing COVID testing for the county of Los Angeles, not at Dodger Stadium, because Dodger Stadium, they got rid of the COVID testing site and turned it into a vaccination site. That doesn't mean I can't be helpful, or you tell me what's sidebar and we'll see what you want to do. Would love to be involved.
Right. Okay. Well, I don't know yet. The initial thing that I was told to focus on is trying to make the introduction between here. There's some mega sites already, like Oakland Coliseum. And my understanding is, well, that's county property and that the site's being run as a joint effort between FEMA and the governor's office. And that was the other thing when Jan mentioned that you had some relationship with the governor's office. That also caught my attention, but sounds like it was a different relationship than.
Well, we've all got relationships. Just let's sidebar and I'm happy to help any way we can.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds
There
good.
you go. And you heard it here first. Just remember, it's an opinion. Maybe true, maybe not.
May not be true. You never know.
From what I understand right now, that the president just made a deal for 100 million vaccines from Johnson & Johnson. 100 million, where Johnson & Johnson and Merck will be combined together and providing 100 million doses of the vaccine. And my understanding right now is that they're vaccinating people like crazy, something like 2.2 million people a day. And I think it's up to like 24% of the country. Now, does anybody have any idea when we're going to get to that herd immunity aspect of it? How many people need to be vaccinated before we can all mooing, go, moo, I've been vaccinated. Nobody. Good. I'm glad. We'll make this up then. All right.
Yes, I'm gonna just guess that it's about 200 and something. I mean, 2 point something million people have to be 2 point something billion people, because there's 3 billion people in the country, right? 3 point something billion people. So it has to be 70% of that.
70% is what I keep hearing.
Yeah, 70% is the key word. So 70%. So if we take 70% and apply it to the total population of what?
350 million.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, but you have to discount children, right? Because the vaccine is not administered to children. So you have to pull that number out.
Yeah, so anybody know those numbers?
Well, right now, from my understanding, 93 million doses have already been administered in the United States based on the CDC. And and here's an interesting thing about COVID, that the CDC just didn't release the study that shows that 78% of the people that came down with COVID were overweight and obese. So that might skew the statistics of not how many people are obese and fat in America, but the fact that if people who have gotten it might not have gotten it had they been in better shape. And so a word to the wise, get into shape right now before it's too late. Get your vaccine and get into shape. So that's it. So what else is going on? Who haven't we heard from? We haven't heard from, let's say, Ken Porter in Nashville, our man on the street in Nashville. What's happening down there? Oh, well, nothing's happening in Nashville. All right. What's happening? Ken, what do you got to say? What's going on? You're flashing. Our COVID compliance officer here in the, so let's switch a little further south down to Miami. And we have our reporter on the streets in Miami, Chris Carlton.
Well, hello, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. How are y'all today? So there's not a whole lot new to report down here as far as COVID is concerned. I think the governor has opened up to 60 and younger or and older as of the 15th of March. The vaccination will be open. As far as the state goes, the federal government came in and stepped in and set up a couple of sites to just take care of all the teachers and a lot of people that were in frontline, needed to do that in order to get back to work as firefighters and police officers and whatnot. Other than that, the most important thing that's going on right now is all about St. Patrick's Day coming up. Okay, we got St. Patrick's Day coming up, and if you don't have your brisket yet, okay, this guy here will tell you what to do with your brisket so you can have perfect corned beef for your St. Patty's Day celebration. Okay.
There you go. Now, Chris, am I not correct? Is that the America's Cup is going on right now?
Well, I haven't been following the America's Cup because we've been doing a lot of stuff here in Miami, and I'm going to try to find how I can share something with you, but I haven't been able to do
anyway,
that yet.
While you're doing that, isn't the America Cup in New Zealand?
Ken Porter, can you answer that?
Google.
Ken Porter's not talkative today, whatever reason. It must be that haircut.
Yes, it's in New Zealand.
So anyway, and here's an interesting tidbit of news, which I just picked up from Polestar, that New Zealand has opened it. Basically, they've opened up their concert market. And so in response to that, New Zealand's successful response to COVID-19 with no social distancing, a band called 6 60s. I've never heard of them, but they must be very big in New Zealand, where people are so desperate to get out that they sold out the Sky Stadium at 32,000 people with no social distancing. And the health officials down there wanted each fan to have their phone installed with a COVID tracer app and have their Bluetooth feature turned on, so it would allow the health authorities to track infections and inform users. And it went off pretty well, except towards the end of the tour, because they went on tour. And in their final show, it turns out that thousands of phones went off, and they had an outbreak of COVID. And of course, Auckland then went into a 10-day lockdown.
Oh,
So
no.
we'll throw that in. We'll throw that link into the show notes as well. But it was a good sign that things are coming back. And what do you want to share?
They had to postpone some of the races because of that lockdown.
This is what we're doing here in Miami.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, I'll
That's
try. I
beautiful.
can't get a video up for some reason.
Okay.
See if I can do that anyway.
Now, did you take that video?
Yes, unfortunately, I wasn't one in the boat. I was one on my boat, looking at it, watching them going, how are these guys going so fast?
Yes,
And
how
there's
are those guys going so fast?
You know, I think they hire the dolphins, okay, to get underneath the boat and to pull it along and push it along. I think that's what's going on. They got fish underneath there. That's what's going on.
You think it's the fish that are moving it along, like the dolphins?
Absolutely. You know, they listen, I think they found, I don't know, was it 50 kilos of cocaine off the coast? So there's a lot of energy in that water right now. You know, I'm not sure how that translates into sailing, but you know, we try to keep it all above the water.
The fish must be very tasty in that bay.
You got to fry them fast.
Now, Ken, you had a question. Ken Porter, I think you're back.
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, so tell us now, what was the question that you had?
I was noticing the other day while watching the race that there was a race that was running like the wind speed was 20 miles an hour, but the boats were running close to 30. How can you go faster than the speed of the wind? The only thing I can figure is lever action and they're up on the one fin, but how can you do that?
You're doing that by, you've got two sides to a sail, and the wind is not pushing you because they're not sailing downwind. They're not. They're sailing at a close reach, and because of that, it's acting like the air on a wing that can lift up a tremendous amount of weight, and it's just air on a wing. So you've got forces on both sides of the wing or the sail in this instance. It's all about the shape of the sail and getting the shape correct. And you shape the sail according to not only the speed of the wind, but also how high the seas are. And if you have to power through the seas, or if they're flat, you can ride on top and get more speed out of it. And it also has to do with the courses that they lay out. Sometimes the courses are to where you're doing like a figure eight, where you're tacking you're going upwind to one point and you're going downwind to another point. So they're not maintaining that speed the entire time. They're just doing that on the upwind tacks.
So do we know what the grinders are doing when because they seem to be running them quite nonstop, not really.
Yeah, I haven't found out about the grinders yet. I don't have any grinders on my boat unless it's a sandwich, you know.
Oh, yeah. Now, are you talking grinders for cocaine? Because I know that grinders, I remember buying 50 of them one year for Christmas, and I tried to convince the guy that was selling me that I didn't do cocaine, but I don't think he believed me. But I think the easier answer would have been, say, they move so fast because there's so much cocaine in the water. I think that would be another answer, Ken.
Hey, Lewis, do you have any grinders on your boat, Lewis?
Why is everybody talking about John Procaccini like this?
So who else has a boat in the room? Okay, there we go.
Lewis
So
lives on a boat, doesn't he?
I don't know. I don't know if he does or not, but
I don't think Lewis is on anymore.
okay, Lewis must have popped off.
Yeah.
And then, so anyway, so has anybody, I guess the big news is, before we get into anything else, is is the stimulus package. I mean, $1.9 trillion, is that it? Or $1 billion or 10 million zillion dollars? It's a figure that you can't even wrap your head around. It's so big. It's such a massive amount of money. But the reality is that does change things for us in our industry. And what that changes, because now not only are you able to get some PPP, but you could also get some SVOG. Eric, do you know anything about that?
I know a lot about it.
All right, talk about it.
There was an amendment made to the rules of who qualifies, and number 16 came out, and it expressly prohibits sound, lighting, staging, and related production vendors from getting a penny. It's carved out in black and white. And myself, Mike Strickland, and a few others have been pummeling people with emails. I sent 40 Federal Expresses yesterday to between the SBA, senators, congressmen, et cetera, all saying, politely, this is fucking bullshit. And what we really need is to get everybody on this Zoom, start sending at least 1 or 2 FedExes to Barbara Carson, who was the head of disaster relief at the SBA, and just let her office have just truckloads of FedEx envelopes, because they don't look at their email, saying we need help. And a big part of the challenge is that this is, first of all, by not doing it, there's how many people in the millions in our industry are just going to be sitting on unemployment that would otherwise not be on unemployment. So it's going into one pocket for another, and they just don't seem to get it. Mike and I and a few others last week had sent the same messages, and Mike had gotten some very good information, and it seemed there was some traction that was being gained, and then that amendment came out. But when they write these, something like that, one amendment, it probably took them 2 weeks to get enough lawyers to look at it to write that 2-sentence piece. So
What was the reasoning behind that, Eric? Did they say?
They're just simple. They just say, we don't qualify, we're not venues. And the facts are, and this is as I've read them, venues make up 8% of the entertainment ecosystem. 92% make up the rest of the ecosystem.
Yeah.
And if you read the grant and what it says, all of those people that it says you have to bring back in, a couple of management people, yes, they deserve to get paid. And the issue, of course, is every venue needs relief. There are none that don't need relief, but we're part of that ecosystem. So when they say you're going to hire back, one sound guy, one lighting guy, what does that do for anybody here? Unless you're an independent sound person and you work at a venue, well, then that's great. It does nothing. Forgetting lighting, sound, staging, you can go on down to backline buses, trucks, and all of the other people that if one of those industries within our community dropped out, we would all be fairly well shit out of luck. But there's also, look at the labor providers. There's the IA, and there's all the providers. Rhino Staging's down from 11 offices, I think, to 4. You roll a stadium show into their town, you need 200 people to put it up. There's going to be 20. These people have gone on to other jobs. So that's a huge problem. The eviction moratorium is going to end. There's millions of people in the industry are going to be getting that notice put on their door. The foreclosure notices are already flying all around because the year moratorium is up. I'm sorry, the year forbearance is up. So the way to cure it is to literally just beat the snot out of Barbara Carson and anybody else anybody feels like writing to, including their own senators. Emails are great. We should send emails, but write the letter, put it in an overnight envelope, and send it to the SBA headquarters to Barbara Carson.
Well, I think I have some good news for you, Eric, because I just got an email from Michael Strickland, and I will read it, and maybe I'm reading it wrong, but the new American Rescue Plan of 2021 just passed the House and is on the way to the president to sign. It should be law by tomorrow. State amendment, Senate Amendment 891 was included. This amendment will allow entities to accept PPP and then later accept SVOG. This refers to the first and second round of the newest PPP. The annulment, the amendment nullifies the box you checked on the PP form stating you will not apply for SVOG. So now you can take both the newest round of PPP as well as later take the SVOG if you qualify. That is a great relief for many of us. So if you haven't seen that email, it just came in your inbox. So I want to tell you, your FedEx is working.
Jan,
Yes.
that only benefited just the few venues that are going to get the SVOG for in case they accidentally check the PPP. Now, I have 2 venues. I have a fixed lighting system. I have a fixed sound system, and I do live music on a portable stage. I do not have a box office, and I don't have fixed seating on the ground. I have an open format venue. I am not going to get the SVOG. Even so 2 of my venues do not qualify for this. So whoever said 8% of the industry is going to get this money, I bet it's 2 or 3%. I feel like our entire industry's completely been absolutely cut out. And I've been trying to read deep into the Biden $1.9 trillion package, but what's in there for any of us?
Well, if you have children, you're in luck. And it's a reason for us to have children, because from my understanding of what I just understood is that there's going to be a child tax credit for millions of parents could get up to $3,600 per child from 2,000 to 800 billion in the benefits. So for children and long-term outcomes. So right now, I encourage you all, if you don't have any children, to get on the case right away and have children. Now, Sean, how many children do you have?
I have 2, but I can tell you $3,600 buys a big wheel and about a week of daycare. So
that's it. Well, Josh is here from McDonald's. He will tell you that gives you a Big Mac and a Happy Meal, I think, for that kind of money.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more. Maybe a couple more.
Now you got
$1.9 trillion. That's a huge amount of money, and I just look forward to hearing what all the benefits of it are. I mean, there have got to be for the Republicans to totally ignore it. I mean, the Republicans totally voted no on it, so there's got to be some crap.
Well, look, let's not get into I don't want to get into the politics side of it, because basically politics is it's just fucked. That's it. I mean, there's an R and a D. They're fighting like crazy. Nothing's ever gonna, really, I think we need to get rid of all politicians. And but then how could that happen? If you get rid of all politicians,
but you missed my point is that I think that there's $1.9 trillion of spending in there. What are they spending $1.9 trillion on? Does anybody?
Only 10% of it goes to COVID relief.
Well, 800 billion is going towards children and healthcare of children. A lot of money is going to the states to pay for all of this stuff that's going on. I mean, how much money did Gavin Newsom have when he came down to see you, Sean? Was he carrying 2 suitcases of this stimulus money, or what?
A lot of stimulus money. Well, California has always had very, very large reserves. So the state of California is basically borrowing from a bank account that we have. And Los Angeles, the city, was losing $100 million a month because of all the issues created by COVID. So they're in the hole about a $1.2 billion since this started. So Los Angeles is getting $1 billion in the COVID relief, in this relief package. That money will go back to replenish all the expended money, and then can be redeployed to police officers on the street, or homeless housing programs, or hiring back, opening back up museums. I mean, some of these cities cut 30% of their services. So the package is basically, I think, mostly to support our infrastructure, our cities, our municipalities, all of them going bankrupt from having to pay, hundreds of millions of dollars to just do COVID testing and things like that. It's expensive.
Yeah, and also what I also read in an article is something like in nearly half of Americans missed a rent or mortgage payment during the COVID-19 thing. So I mean, and I think some of that money goes to help those people who have missed payments, and also for student loans. I believe that also is another thing. Plus, they're paying for the vaccine. I also believe that there's some other things in it, and there is a lot of, as they. I hope there's nobody here that's a vegetarian that will object to me using. There's a lot of pork in this bill, but it's political. I mean, that's all there is to it. It's and not only that, the money doesn't all get spent like today. It's spread out of a period of 4 years or something like that. So it goes on and on and on, whatever. How many people here are going to get any of that 1.9 trillion? Let's see, wave of hands. Anybody here going to get any of that money?
Well, unemployment has just been expanded. I mean, this is to get the economy going. They call it a COVID bill, but there's the entire economy that's got to get boosted. And in a lot of areas that are getting money, farmers are getting money. So if you break this down, and you say, well, how much can you spend on COVID? It's just a small part of this bill.
Right. Well, Chris, how much money are you getting out of this? Are you getting anything out of it?
Which
Are
one?
they coming to your house with a suitcase full of money?
No, there's no cash coming this way. I just look forward to the bailouts of some of these retirement funds of union musicians and a lot of people that, unfortunately, it is like it was said, it's all part of the entire economy. When you have people that are, over 65 and retired or pushed into retirement because Broadway shut down or whatever. I'm not sure the breakdown on that and if it affects the stagehand union up there on Broadway, but I think that the musicians union is looking at getting some funds from this. So, any help for the entire economy helps us all. Because everybody wants to have a few dollars in their pocket when they go see a concert. So without that, we're not going to have concerts. So yeah, it helps.
Well, I want to say something. I want to say something about concerts, okay? And that is, they are starting to come back. Now, I've talked to a lot of you guys in the room, and I'm talking to a lot of people. And the reality is that concerts are coming back. Today, I was talking to somebody that picked up 3 shows today, 3 concert shows up in Seattle area, as a matter of fact, so that they're picking up work. And it was announced today that the Mammoth Life is Beautiful Festival. Sean, remember you came there? We went to that Life is Beautiful Festival in Las Vegas.
Yeah, right when Mackle. No, who's the last guy?
The guy with the guy was wearing the
tattoos on his face.
What was his name?
Come on, everyone. He's in all the Budweiser commercials with the tattoos on his face. Someone knows who this is.
I want to say Porter, but that's not it. That's Ken Porter in the room. I've got my block on his name.
Post
What's his name?
Malone. Post Malone was the headliner, and I take Jan to this concert, and then Post comes on, and Jan goes, "Let's get the fuck out of here. This is terrible." And he leaves.
Well, why was I? But the thing is that he had this whole stage set up, and there were no musicians on the stage, and that really bothered me. That it was just him, as an arrogant, like the whole ego of his presentation just didn't move me in a nice way. I believe in musicians should be working, not pre-recorded music on a live event. That's, call me stupid, whatever it is, but that's how I grew up. And that's what I'm used to, is I like to see musicians working, and, call me stupid, call me whatever you want, but I like to see people working, and not just one guy on a 50-foot stage, just, prancing around wearing a Dallas Cowboys uniform in a Raider town. That's it, so what can I say about that? Now, but this year they just announced that it's set for September 17th through 19th, and it's going to be topped by Billie Eilish, Green Day, and a few other headliners, and the tickets go on sale on Friday, and they're expecting it to sell out just like that. Also, I also know
full capacity though. When you say tickets will sell out, or you mean like a full normal quantity of people, or is it a reduced
They wouldn't be able to
attendance.
do this kind of show unless they were able to sell it out completely. So they are projecting that by September 17th, they're going to be back to normal. Now, let's talk about the Daytona Michael motorcycle rally. That's expected to draw 400,000 people right now. And so that's
Florida.
going on right now. Also, Disneyland is opening their theme parks in April. Right. And
10% though, 10.
Well, more than 30 venues in Austin have created a public health code of conduct and safety called Safe and Sound to make sure that the city is able to open up safely and responsible. Now, we do have somebody in the room from Texas. Michael, what do you know about what's going on in Texas right now?
I don't know anything about that per se. I'm sure that's something that's being pushed by Southwest guys.
Now, ladies and gentlemen who are watching, this is for the first time we have heard some true honesty when he says, I don't know anything about that. That is amazing. What kind of show do you think I'm running here? Make it up, man. Make it up.
I'm sorry. I don't want to be the guy that's passes out bad information. Come on. Come on.
So
everybody's got Google. Go Google it. I mean, it's on the internet. It must be true.
Yeah, it must be true. I mean, so what's going on in Dallas? Let's just talk about what you know in your hometown, in your own neighborhood.
It's still people are still extremely tentative. Yeah, our numbers are going down. Today is day one of lifting the mask, lifting, all the restrictions here in Texas. But the media, in my personal opinion, the media and the government has done their job. They scare the crap out of everybody, and everybody is worried. What about this strain? What about that strain? And it's just flat out people not doing enough research to know what the reality of things is. But
does Dallas have any mandates versus the state?
I haven't. I've kind of been waiting till the end of the day today to see what people are going to do as far as individual cities and stuff like that. What these judges are going to say. But I know some of them have said, well, we really aren't comfortable with changing too much, and others are like, no, we should have done this. We should have done this 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago. So.
Just an interesting aside before we turn to our man in Austin, Paul Wallace, who will tell us what's going on in Austin because he's got his ear on the ground in the street. But what I will say is I just on NPR, I was listening this morning to to one of the shows. I forgot the name of it, but they were talking about the mask mandate in Texas. And it seems that it's left up to the municipalities on what they're going to handle as far as masks. But the individual stores and the individual restaurants, they were talking about how it's going to be up to the individual owner, the individual entrepreneur on whether or not someone can come into their facility wearing a mask or not wearing a mask.
Right.
Now,
and this being Texas, there are plenty of people here who do what they want. So that attitude, that mindset is very much alive and well. And one of the things that the governor is definitely adamant about is not being able to prosecute anybody, fine anybody for not wearing a mask, that kind of stuff. Now, if a business says, hey, you got to go, and they don't go, that's a different story. But
well,
here's the deal,
living in a right to carry state, it's fun to have an open carry state. Hey, no mask. All right, that's it. Hey. So we'll see what kind of.
Here's the
see
deal,
what happens.
Jan.
Oh, thank you, Paul. The man in Austin, ladies and gentlemen, Paul Wallace. Scared.
The Ken Paxton, the Attorney General of Texas, gave Austin officials till 6 o'clock to they can't enforce anything. They have to drop the mask, drop all enforcement. And
Oh, man, just when he was getting good, his
We
mic cut
lost you,
off.
Paul. We lost you, Paul.
Unbelievable.
Hold that button down.
We've got 5 more minutes, according to it's 6 o'clock's the deadline to drop all restrictions. No, you can't have a mask requirement or any requirements after 6 o'clock tonight, which is in 4 minutes from now.
Well, you've already
Wait, when you
stopped
say you
wearing your
can't
mask.
have,
He's saying he's saying the mayor and the city can't restrict anyone. They can't make people wear masks. They can't enforce social distancing, none of that. He'll sue Austin. And Mayor Adler said, not going to do it. Not going to go there. We're going to keep our masks. We're going to keep our social distancing. We're not a bunch of pansies here in Austin that does everything the state wants, you know?
I think the word you're looking for is Neanderthal. I think that's the word that's the word in the vernacular right now.
Well, I don't want to discriminate against any race of people, you know.
You know, not wanting to discriminate against any race of people. I want to know who hasn't spoken out yet. So I'm just looking here at the thing, and we haven't heard anything from Kurt Hare. Kurt, what's going on, man? Talk to us. What do you know about what's going on?
Oh, not a lot's changed up here. It's not me with the 3 gigs in Seattle, I'll tell you that. You know, just trying to lobby the state government to increase the capacity to percentage based of the venue size. So that's kind of something that some friends of mine are taking the lead on. And we're going to be doing a little 200-person outdoor club to kind of get a trial run going on that. We have access to a huge pavilion that's covered, but doesn't have walls. So it kind of qualifies as outdoor, even though it's got a roof on it, 80 feet up. So that kind of starts at the end of the month, and we'll see how that goes. My understanding is some people from the state are going to be there to kind of see if we can pull it off and maintain all the social distancing kind of things. And if that goes well, maybe we'll be able to do it on a weekly basis, but it still doesn't pencil out. I mean, the best it's going to do is provide a day rate for a guy or two. That's about it. I mean, that's something, but it's not recovery.
Right now, are you going to be able to get any of that $1.9 trillion? Have you figured out a way how to get some of that money?
Well, I spent a couple hours on the phone with Wells Fargo again today. That got me absolutely nowhere for the 5th time. So I'm going to probably pull all my accounts from there and find a local bank that's smaller and will actually talk to you.
Yeehaw! Giddy up, folks! Giddy up! I don't think there's
credit union.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a good big bank out there. I mean, we're dealing with it because we have to, but the reality is I think the local banks are the way to go. And of course, as you all know, I've had an amazing story with Bank of America, which is still continuing. It is not over yet. But it's an exciting time for us all. Steve, in New Orleans, what kind of banks do they have over there? Do they have national banks, or is everything put into seafood?
Local banks. What's going on here right now is that I heard today that 16 years of age and up can now get the vaccine if you have some sort of immune issue.
And get married? 16, they can go get vaccinated and married at the same time?
That's always been the case, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and venues, I believe, are limited to now 250 people max with social distancing and, of course, mask. So nothing's really changed there, except it went from 75 to 150 now to 250. So it's opening up a little bit. And that's pretty much it, you know.
Mm-hmm. That's it. Chris Prozio, what's going on where you are up there? You're by Sacramento, right? What's happening there?
It's raining.
Did Governor Newsom come over to your house after the event last night?
No, the governor and I are not on speaking terms currently.
No.
No, it's same old, same old. I mean, for at least on the manufacturing side, we're starting to see some upticks in things. Definitely seeing the same thing you guys are as far as people booking shows and talking about needing gear. And if everything hits the way, if everything hits the way it's being billed or booked, there's not going to be enough gear in the country to do all these shows. So it'll be interesting to see what happens as we get into the August timeframe. I'm looking at August, September, when most of this stuff will start ramping back up.
I would agree with you completely. What I am seeing right now is a lot more phone calls, a lot more activity on used equipment, both buying and selling. And the reality is I see a lot of people now starting to really question what kind of gear is available to them for them to purchase the used gear. And I'm thinking that what's going to happen right now is that the used gear is going to start evaporating. People are going to start holding on to it. The used gear market is going to really shrink, and it's going to force the new gear industry to get motivated. The challenge, of course, right now is not only the COVID, but there's also a problem with chipsets right now.
Yep.
And I was talking to Bill Gates just the other day, and he was saying to me, Jan, I am having such a hard time finding chips to insert in people's arms because Harman is buying them all. Harman and Ford and General Motors. I can't get any of those chips to put in a vaccine. What am I going to do? I said, Bill, I don't know what to tell you. Really, I wish I invited him on the show, but he wouldn't come. You know,
that's definitely an issue.
Got to keep this on the QT. That's what he said.
Definitely an issue. I mean, as you know, since we're dealing with servers, our supply lines we can only build them so fast. So we're going through periods now where my availability goes from 2 weeks to 2 months in drop of an order. And it's just based on how fast we can build this stuff. It'll be interesting. It will be interesting as we move through the summer.
Yeah. You know, I was thinking about something else, you know, speaking about how concerts are coming back. And I read also that in England right now, we don't have nobody from England in the room, so we could talk about it. But the UK's most beloved festivals, Reading and Leeds, you know, and anybody who doesn't remember what Leeds is, you know, that famous concert from The Who live at Leeds. And those are huge outdoor venues. Tickets went on sale on August 27th and 29th shows, and it's sold out just like that. So what we're seeing right now is that as soon as we can come back, people are going to jump on going to see, because people who have been making money have nothing to spend it on right now. That's why in-home stuff has been so effective, where people are buying things, you know, refrigerators, TVs, ovens, stoves, but they haven't been spending money on entertainment other than Netflix and Amazon Prime, and they are dying. I mean, not in the figurative, not in the literal way, but in figuratively, bad example. They want to get out there. They just want to get out there with other people. And I think we are going to be so busy that we won't be able to think straight. It's going to be, oh, I remember the good old days when we were sitting around doing nothing. And now we're going to be so busy that we won't have time to think about the good old days doing nothing. So let's
add on to that. How many people have left the industry?
Yeah.
So now finding qualified people to run your event, you know, not only the gear, but now the people to actually put their hands on it and run it. You know, who's going to run all those miles of cable? We went from 200 man call to a 20-man call. Who's going to run all that feeder?
Yeah.
Well, we have a person in the room that might be able to answer that, although she's being incognito. Ray, can you hear the sound of my voice? I'd like you to chime in right about now. How are you seeing it?
I'm pretty much seeing the same thing. The major amount of people that have decided to go somewhere else and do some other stuff. Your crewing companies are low on phone numbers at this point. So you guys are absolutely right on target.
Now, what about that $1,400? I mean, do you think that's going to help the people in the industry? Do you think that $1,400 that everybody's about to get, that do you think that is that going to help?
Well, first of all, not everybody's going to get it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, let me just put it to you this way. Okay. So what is it? It's 100 and if you make under $75,000, is that correct? As a single individual?
Yeah, if your adjusted gross income is less than 70 or 75 or less, you get the full 1,400. And I think, and it graduates from there to what?
80.
80
Yeah,
something?
they capped it at 80 this time. It's really short.
So here's a secret for you people, just so you know. If you're curious to know how much somebody makes, in a couple of weeks, ask them, hey, did you get the 1,400? And if they say, yeah, you know what they made, last year, that's it.
Or at least the under.
Some people are now going to be lying about, no, I didn't get any money.
But it's based on 2019, though, is the problem.
Damn. Curses foiled
Yeah,
again.
it should be, if only it could be based on 2020 when we made nothing. Then it would talk.
I thought they were adjusting that if you got your taxes in.
Yeah, they are. I believe it's 19 and 20, whichever is less. I think that's how they're going to do it. But don't take my word for it. Remember, there's Google out there. Ray, I want to ask you another question regarding the cruise. And I forgot the question. So let me just make it up. What's going on with the cruise?
Let's see. Most people have found jobs that are something that they might leave. So you do have some people that are going to jump right back in. And you do have some production companies that are bringing back a small percentage of their management, mostly, to handle an influx of virtual and hybrids that are coming up and being planned. So what I'm seeing is a whole bunch of hybrids being planned for, May, June, July, August, but also seeing a lot of in-person ones that people are looking for September, October, November, with the backup of being a hybrid. So even in the fall, some of the people that I'm seeing are unsure of how many people they want in the live portion of their event. Now, back to the crew though, you also have a lot of these management folks that went off and did something else. Some people started businesses, they're successful, jumped industries. A lot of your project managers went into construction stuff. There's a lot of those folks are not going to come back. So we're going to be short on brains. You're going to be short on your management brains. You're going to be short on your technician brains. Some of those folks aren't going to want to back out of the virtual events, working from home.
Yeah, I would say that's very optimistic on your behalf. What I would say is I think that when the jobs come back, I mean, if I was working, let's just say I had to take a job at the Big Five, or I had to take a job at a shoe store or the Nike store or anything along those lines, even if they were paying me a decent salary, or I was getting some health benefits, it would be hard for me not to go back to the live entertainment world, because one, I think that the value of our crews are going to be expanded exponentially, which means we're going to have to pay them more to come back to get them out of Lowe's and Home Depot, because we are going to need those good people. And I do believe that there's going to be money for the shows as well, because people have money to spend. So when a ticket goes on sale and it sells that fast for, like, let's say a major concert, then, I don't know what the ticket prices are going right now, but when I was looking at the Garth Brooks tickets, they were $900 just for some of the better seats. So Ken Porter, you look like you want to say something.
Trying to get more money out of promoters is going to be really hard. But the point I was saying too, the issue I'm having is some of the guys that have gone off, got another job, and their wives are telling them it's awful nice that they're sitting on the couch with them every night, in that they they really need to go back on the road.
Oh, I feel sorry for those guys. Really, I do. I feel really sorry for those guys, because the thing is probably because there's so few of them, because really absence makes the heart grow fonder. And when you're together with somebody for so long, it's really, I mean, if you want to know what it's like with, I always say, if I want to know what it's like to get along with somebody, where I'm going to get along on a date, I take them on a 2-hour car ride. If we're not fighting like cats and dogs by the end of the 2-hour ride, I know I have a shot, but what can I say? But I think there's a lot of people that would love to get out of that sitting on the couch every night.
Depends if you want to stay married or not.
Yeah, I don't want anybody, and I only want to hear from the single guys right now. What do you guys think? Do you want to sit home on the couch? If you were married, make believe that you were married, don't you think you would want to still be working and going out and doing what you love to do? Isn't that the part of life?
Oh, yeah.
Thanks.
Well,
Ray,
I think,
what about you?
I think actually divorce is up higher than ever because the families have been together. So the relationship that worked got better, but the ones that weren't working because they were separated all day, it's gotten worse. Now they realize they don't like each other.
Yeah, it could be very difficult to be in a confined space with someone, but they always say this, that financial problems are what breaks up marriages better than anything else. And to combine, to be stuck in a place with somebody and not have any money, that also has to compound the problem, don't you think?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I've had several people that have gone off to become home improvement contractors and making good money doing that right now.
Yeah, but I don't think that I'm sure that if it came back to doing shows, that they would say, yeah, this is what I want to do. I mean, who in this room wouldn't want to go back and do shows right now? Every one of us
A
would
lot
want to
of
do
them
shows.
were management stuff there, but a lot of the point is that they've done the shows and now it's go on with their next stage of their life and their career in building a business and doing home improvements are kind of as a new passion.
I was the other way around. I was in construction for 20 years and I got out of it to do this. I'd rather push a 250 speaker around the mud than go nail trim around a window.
Dr. Fred, what is your opinion on this?
I'm sorry, I've been kind of in and out of the room. What was the question?
Anybody have a question for Dr. Fred? Yes. We're going through, sitting on the couch for all these months, 14 months, and now some of us think that it's probably going to be very hard to get off that couch. Your spouse is not going to want you to leave to go back out on the road or go to work in the chosen profession that you chose, rather than staying at Home Depot, whatever.
Luckily, my wife doesn't care. I've always been a freelancer, so being on the road is, she actually likes me to go.
My wife.
By the way, I got my backer's copy yesterday.
Oh, that's cool.
I have my name in here.
Very, very cool. Yeah. I'm sure if I was married, my wife would pay me to go out on the road.
My wife for the last 5 months is like, God, I can't wait till you go back on the road.
David, you're shaking your head yes and no. Now, David's been married longer than anyone I know, so in this room. So what does Myrna say?
Well, we get along great. We just are having a great time together. At the same token, I'm ready to get on the road. But I don't go on the road on long tours. Working the headline entertainers, you go out and you come back, you do a weekend here or a week there. So even when I was working, it wasn't the long-term, long-distance relationship. But we're having a great time together.
That's good.
Nashville touring is basically get on a bus on Wednesday or Thursday night and be back on sometimes Sunday or Monday morning.
Well, and Jan, here's the difference between somebody who's sitting on the sofa and somebody who went out and got a different job already. And that was kind of my point.
Right.
No, I understand what you're saying, but the thing is that you're home and you are doing something that you have to do for money rather than something that you love doing. I don't think anybody who has been on the road and goes to work at a shoe store is going to love selling shoes. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I think I agree with you.
But there are some people, many apparently, people that have pivoted to professions that they now adore. So how many is the question, right?
Exactly, Ken. Thank you.
And I also have the ones that are worried about how they come back, whether it's going to be long-term or whether it's going to be, whether we're going to have a crash and burn come the fall and it's only going to be a few months and then they're back into trying to do something else. They're still gonna leave
Exactly.
the job that they have now to get the gamble on what they're doing here.
Yeah.
Well, I know one friend of mine, went to software development, and when he posted that on Facebook, he said something along the lines of, "I'm tired of this, inconsistency of the, doing events business, and now it's gotten extremely inconsistent. I've had enough. I'm going to go do software coding, and that's it. I'm done with events."
Well, I still think maybe it's just because that it's my world that I feel that if I had the opportunity to go back out and do shows compared to working in a fixed location where I was helping customers come in and out, I don't think I would want to do that. Also, coding is a very lonely business, very, very lonely business. You're all alone when you're coding. And if that's
That
where your
may be good for
lifestyle,
some people. Hey,
right.
everybody's different, as we know. So then, what's good for one person is horrible for another. And so if that works for him, more power to him, right?
That's right. That's right. I mean, I know this guy. I know this guy that loved working in a clothing store. He's been doing it for years and years and years. And he specialized when people would come into the store, that he would immediately be able to recognize what size you wore. So it turns out that this other guy is, well, it doesn't matter. We'll tell this other one. Anyway, he loved doing it. He loved it. He just loved working in a clothing store. So that's all I could say. He wouldn't have been happy on the road. So, I mean, it happens. People do it, but there are certain professions that I don't think people really love what they do, but they're forced into doing it for survival. That's all there is to it. And, fortunately for us, and the other thing about the guys that are in our business seem to be more intuitive and more intelligent. It just seems that we have a bigger grasp on what's going on in humanity and what's around us than not. And I don't know why that is, but it's something that does happen. So anyway, is there anybody here that has anything else they want to say before we go to the next topic? And yes, Ken Newman.
I got a question. So speaking about stimulus checks, it makes me think about a question that I have for anybody. And that is, we had the first stimulus check, we had the second stimulus check, and now the third one's coming up. Did anybody not get the second stimulus that feels they should have? Because that's the category that I fall into.
I think Kurt has something to say about that. Kurt, are you still there?
I am. Yeah. I mean, I didn't get any of them, and I don't expect I will. I think it's like I said, like was said before, if it was based on 2020, then I would meet all of those qualifications. But based on 2019, it's not going to work.
But I had, my accountant's really good. So my adjusted gross income for 2019 was much lower than 2018. So I really felt like I was supposed to get something for the second stimulus check, and I got zero. And speaking of which, even my previous one, the first one that was based on 2018, the first stimulus check, I got $50 or something. So I got something from that first stimulus check. The second, I got just nothing, no deposit in my account. And if I go to that website where it checks your status, it just said we have a problem figuring it out. So I was wondering if I'm the only one that is encountering that.
Ken, have you done your taxes yet?
Not this year, but 2019, a long time ago.
When I did my 2020 taxes, which got them done a couple of weeks ago, my income may have dropped down with my wife below the threshold. I ended up getting that stimulus money back as a retroactive, almost like a tax return.
That's what happened to me too. I got that money back in my taxes.
Yeah, so just keep that in mind.
It's a deduction.
See that money come back
for not having received that. It's a deduction. Is that it?
No. So you didn't receive it. You received $50 the first time and zero in December. What I'm saying is, when I did my taxes, they asked, did you receive any money? And I put the amount that I received on the first go round. And then, obviously I had nothing on the second go round. And then they said, well, based on this information, keep in mind that we will check this at the IRS. They put a big disclaimer up there saying, yo, don't lie here, stupid. They said, here's your anticipated amount that will be added to your, basically a return. And how I got money back. Otherwise, I would have bet zero, which is always my goal. I don't want to give the government any more money than I have to during the year. But because of that, I got a little bit of a return. Just let you know.
Interesting. Well, yeah, we'll see how that goes. Thanks.
And I'm not a tax person, as Jen would say. Google it. I'm not a tax attorney.
Right.
It's just my opinion. It's just my opinion and no one else's. And you know what they say about opinions. So
YMMV.
So I want to add, we have 2 more things what we want to talk about, and then we're going to close the room, and then we're going to talk about everybody else. But right now, so the new feature that I wanted to talk about is our first job. Now, is there anybody in this room that wants to share their first job in the industry? The first job, well, it doesn't even have to, your first job. Who wants to talk about that? Somebody just got to chime up right now. Otherwise, I'll have to talk about mine. And I'd prefer somebody else talk about theirs first. Fred, you want to talk about your first job?
Right out of high school, I went to work for Bourne's Magnetics, and my boss and I modified winding machines that wound 1/4-inch transformers with number 26 wire. It's like half the thickness of a human hair. And we would spin these things up to like 5,000 RPM to wind these little 1/4-inch round transformers and stop accurately every time without breaking that wire. That was kind of cool. And then my second job, I worked in a grain cleaner, barley, oats, wheat. My hay fever was awful.
Fascinating. Fascinating. I think that is fascinating. There's so many different professions out there. It's staggering. It's staggering the mind. So, hey, David, what about your first job?
I had a pretty cool first job. I graduated college as an electrical engineer. I thought I'd have the summer off to figure out what I was doing, and I got a call from my friend. Says, my mom talked to our neighbor and she got you a job. Great. What is it? It's just, now here's the concept. Subcarrier FM was where Muzak was. It was if you have a mono FM station, there's still room in the bandwidth to transmit. So Muzak was one of the things that would go on subcarrier. And this company decided that they were going to have a transmitter in every major city, and every plane that would land would get a news broadcast, a 5-minute news broadcast with a start tone of national, local, traffic, theaters, sports, everything up to the hour in each city. And they had a test market between New York and Chicago for the shuttles. There used to be 3 or 4 shuttles an hour from LaGuardia to O'Hare. And it was very competitive. So TWA put these receivers in their planes, and my company was the one that was creating this. And they had a UPI and a Reuters and a guy who read out the news report every hour for New York and Chicago. And my job was to get on a plane every morning in LaGuardia and fly to Chicago, listen to the broadcast, make sure it was okay. If it wasn't, I had a spare receiver with me, and I could go into the belly of the plane without any security and make adjustments. And then I had to meet and talk to the stewardesses, they weren't flight attendants, and to find out if everything worked. And then at the end of the day, I would fly back to Kennedy. And because it was so competitive, everybody was doing something special. TWA had stage deli sandwiches and a little roaming keg of Heineken beer that went up and down the aisles. And this was my job for 6 months until it worked well enough that they put me in the shop and I started building test equipment for them. But it wasn't a bad way to start off.
Not a bad way. That's a great story. Steve Sluter, you're smiling. So you must have a story that you want to tell. But before you do, did I tell you about my first job baiting fish hooks? I got my first job was baiting.
You know, I can't remember my first job. I had so many of them. Probably my brothers and I putting on low fares in our backyard, charging kids in the neighborhood to come in. I started my entrepreneurial, life way back when I was probably 7 or 8 years old. Newspapers, cutting grass, all that kind of stuff, washing windows, cars. Whatever.
Look at you now. Look at you now.
Yeah.
Still doing the same
I'm ready
thing.
to retire and go fish.
It's interesting. My cousin, who I've known ever since we were kids, reminded me of, this wasn't my first job, but it was one of my first jobs, where I worked at a deli. It was like a luncheonette in a city called Cedarhurst, which was the Five Towns. It was a very wealthy neighborhood. And he came in one time and he was sitting at the counter, because I was working the counter, and a guy had ordered an English muffin, and I made the English muffin, but the toaster burnt it. And so I looked at it and I thought it was too burnt. So I threw it away and I made him another one and I handed it to him. And afterwards, the owner of the deli, you threw away that burnt, you should have given it to him. Why did you not serve it to him? And I said, well, because, I wanted him to have the quality of a good meal. And they fired me for that, so, but my cousin never forgot that. And I guess my ethics has somewhere along the line has maintained itself. So that's pretty cool. But I do remember my first job. My first job ever was working for a company called Empire Hardware. And I was a kid and I was just a stock boy. And I remember and I was very handy. I was very handy as a kid. I had two hands actually. And so I don't know why this happened. I guess those are the days, when you would have like toys that were completely metal, that no helmets on a bicycle, no shoulder pads, no knee pads when you would go roller skating, that kind of stuff. Anyway, this guy comes in and says he wanted a lock put on his door. And nobody was there. So they say, hey, you want to go do it? And I'm like 13, 14 years old. And I go put this guy's lock on the door and I'm drilling through metal. I'm drilling. Finally, I put the lock on the door and I was off by about an inch. I lost that job too. Anyway. Hey, and that's also one of the highlights of my life. So with that in mind, if there's anybody that has anything else they want to say before we let the people from YouTube and Facebook go, now would be the time. So is anybody that have anything that they want to say? Eric, you want to say something? Michael, anybody?
I just want to basically reiterate, we need lots and lots and lots of communication going to Barbara Carson at the SBA. $15, put a FedEx in the mail tomorrow, let it land on her desk, and just make a case for why production should be there in the same boat with the venues. It's not, we don't want to take anything away from the venues. They need it as well, but the venues need production. And, with no production services, how many venues could actually do every production that they want to do? And there's a lot of argument for the ones that do have some production in there, but we all know there's not a venue out there that doesn't reach to the outside anytime any reasonable show comes in. It's just not something anybody understands that's behind this. So some good explanation, and just talking about getting people off unemployment and back to work, not just through PPP. This is what will rebuild companies. PPP is a Band-Aid. You get it for 8 weeks if you keep your whole staff. You make a Sophie's Choice and you keep 30% of your staff for the 24 weeks, for example. There's nothing good. I mean, not that PPP is bad, but compared to a grant for 45% of your 2019 income, that's what's going to let people rebuild, bring in new people. And just like we've talked about, so many people that have left the industry, we got to train new people. I mean, that's an expensive proposition when you're training people from basically from the ground up. And PPP is not going to cure that issue.
Is there
Eric,
hard numbers on this anywhere, Eric? Something that we can refer to that actually shows the stats?
Well, there's a great chart. Mike Strickland sent it to me. I can't remember who put it together. I wish I could. I can certainly find it. I could send it to Jan. He can send it to everybody. That shows, for example, how one show, like one arena show, for example, just on the production side, employs like 400 people when you start back in the shops with the design, truck drivers, bus drivers, et cetera, et cetera. It's a massive amount of people. And I wrote out the math exercise in the first round of letters and showed how this is like 31 million job days that are saved when, just by supporting these companies. I mean, the numbers are staggering. I can certainly, Jan can send you my email. I'm happy to send you an email with some data, or I'll send a bunch to Jan. He can send it to everybody. But the idea that venues are 8% of the live entertainment ecosystem, that's been all over the internet for the last 6 months since this whole shuttered venue grant came up. And it's not to imply that they're small and we're big, because that's not the case. We all just do different things in the same sandbox. Sandbox
Right.
is,
It's just that I've seen so many articles lately that state things, but there's no factual data actually behind it. And at the end of the day, without the factual data, that's just an opinion. And I would much rather be able to send somebody, here's the study, here's the real numbers, here's what you're affecting here, and let them go from that.
I'm going to put my email in the chat for anybody that's interested. Send me hate mail, send me some jokes, whatever you got, I'll take it. I'll send you what I have. And if you want to see an example letter, I'll send an example letter. I just want to be clear, this is not anti-venue in any way. We all need venues, but we also need festivals that are not included. We need all these venues that are built for a single production. That's all part of our community, and to have them left out is really, it's just the whole point of this. It is not equitable that only one group gets all this funding. And if you would have heard Mike Strickland's, when he was at the Senate hearing, he testified, Amy Klobuchar came on and said, well, they're going to hire back the light guy and everybody will be back to work. And there was not a way to send her a letter saying, listen, dumbass, you just can't fight your way out of a paper bag when it comes to this. But I mean, that's the mindset. They think when the venue opens, everybody has a job again. We need to correct this misperception or incorrect perception about how this industry works and how many people it really takes. I mean, I have a 15-year-old daughter that I was talking about this with, and she literally, obviously she knows what I do. She said, Dad, I don't understand. What about the people that make the costumes? What about the people that drive the trucks and paint the scenery? Are they not taking care of these people? I said, no, not at all. I mean, you look at Local 1 in New York, they're out, the medical benefits are over, and they're not going to see money from medical benefits for how long? I mean, there's a lot of unions of locals in the union that are just out of money. It's that simple. That's forgetting the non-union labor they're even when they're back to work, they're going to probably have half their workforce or less.
Even the goods manufacturers. I mean, the guys that make the tape, the guys that make the soft goods, on and on and on. Truss manufacturers, lighting manufacturers, just everybody.
All of it. I mean, I have a separate truss business. It was down 90%. Now it's down 78, 79%. With no entertainment, there's no sales. It's all little chicken shit stuff. So we got to start. I mean, the main thing is we have to make the point that it's more than venues. Once we get to that point, it's like taking the beach at Normandy. First had to get a toehold on the beach and keep going. But we've got to make this point about how big this ecosystem is. And really, no matter what it is, it's creating or restoring jobs that are good jobs and taking people off unemployment. Unemployment is not going to go on for the next 2 years. And there's a lot of people that if these companies aren't helped, that are going to go belly up, and these jobs will just be lost.
Well, I appreciate what you're saying. Now, who is the woman that you want us to send it to, and why her?
Her name is Barbara Carson. I think she is the assistant acting director of the disaster relief part of the SBA. And she is the one, and this is per Mike. I got it from earlier today, and I got it from a couple of days ago, because he knew that I and others were sending these pretty much, very well worded but lambasting emails saying "wake up." But the grant is administered by the SBA Office of Disaster Relief. PPP is not. So we need to
Should
hit the.
include
all-stars
her info, probably should include her information and address in whatever it is you put out, Eric.
I'll send, you know what, I'm gonna send it to Jan. He's obviously has everybody's emails addressed. He can send it out if you want to do something. Please do. If you can't, I understand everybody's busy trying to do what they can to make a dollar. But you know, a 10-minute investment in $15 that gets an envelope somebody has to open, it to me is well worth it.
Yeah.
Tell you what I'll do, Eric. You send me that letter and I will send it out to my full mailing list on SoundBroker, which is almost 10,000 people. And I will also make sure everybody in this room gets it as well.
Does it go down to 9,000 when you cut out the strippers?
No, it goes up. It goes up by 2,000. But hey, they're out of work too. So what the hell, right?
Yeah, I'll get something to you later tonight or tomorrow. But
And
you'll
with
have
that,
it. This is an action right now. This isn't like a week from now. This is a right now.
yeah. Well, with that in mind, I'm going to have to let the people go on Facebook and YouTube, but just remember this. If, as I always say, if you like it, give it the thumbs up. If you don't like it, give it the thumbs up. Share it with anybody you want. Share it on your timeline. Let people know what we're doing, because I think this is still better than therapy for sure. And, although I am not a doctor, I played one on TV a long time ago, so that must make me some sort of authority, even though I'm not wearing the scrubs like Fred, but he's not a doctor either. So
I play one on TV.
Yeah, he plays one on TV. We play one on TV. So what more can I say? Remember, everything you heard in the show is an opinion. So don't bet the farm on it or the house or whatever. Check up whatever we said. Do the research. You could always write us if you want to write me, Jan Landy at soundbroker.com is my email address. I will send you out any links that we have. We'll try to place the links that was discussed in the show on Facebook if they haven't already been placed. And with that, just remember, you make it happen. Have a great week, and we will see you back again here on Wednesday for our 43rd episode of the Mastermind Roundtable. Until then, you make it happen. Thanks for listening, and we will see you all soon. Now, guys, let's talk about these people that didn't show up.
You guys realize that this coming Saturday is like the 1 year